Okay, so we're back. We fixed our technical difficulties, and I'm almost finished cutting the ground. I mean the roast chuck into cubes, and I'm just about ready to throw it into the Dutch oven. So here I have the Dutch oven. While we were fixing our technical difficulties, we have the water, and it's ready. It's already been boiling. And this skillet, I'll turn up the heat now to about 7.0. And what you want to do here is pour your meat in, just like so. Spread it around evenly. Make sure the bottom of the pan is covered, just like that. There we go. I'll move this over here. I'll be out of the camera for a second to wash my hands, but if you look over on the stove, on the counter, I have a little bag where I keep my flour. I keep it in the same container that I bought it in, and I just put it in a Ziploc bag. So when you hear it browning, the meat is browning here. I'll put it back down so it'll cook evenly with heat. What you do here, I'll put out my flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. It's enriched flour, so it's been bleached. But what you want to do with carne asada is sprinkle it while it's browning, just like this. You want to cover the top of the meat. Let's see if I can get this and bring it over just a tad so you can see it. I sprinkled the flour on top of the roast beef. And so from here, I'm going to cover it. And in a minute, I'm going to toss it around once the meat and the flour have like kind of stuck together, I guess. And so while this is going, with this burner be working, I could make some rice. And actually, I think I'll try to make it in my burner back here. So it won't be a whole lot, but it's just for demonstration. I know the group said one. I'm going to bring it down. Just over. We got. So now that I'm using my flour, make sure this water keeps hot. The vapor the steam help the flour stick to the beef. So then you just give it a quick toss. Because the skillet has been nice and hot, and when you add the beef, it browned just a tad. It's not completely cooked. But this is where you want to leave this off after it gets a little bit sticky to the meat. There you go. I'll turn up the heat for timing purposes. So I'm done with this. I'm going to throw in this big pieces of fat just because our little dog likes them. But I make sure that I do take them out of the serving because, well, that's just not healthy for my family. But if I can show you, it is an H-E-B brand. It's beef. And like I said, it doesn't cost much to feed my family. It was $11.83. Just right here. Right there. So you see that. So now I'll just toss this aside. You don't need it. The meat is browning. Let me see if I can pull this over to show you how it's browning with flour, just like this. So this brown part is when I poured it in and the skillet was nice and hot. I poured the flour. I just kind of sprinkled it, sifted through. And once it got kind of sticky to the meat, like you can see here, then you just toss it around. So I'm going to give it another little toss. Another stir. You have it? You have it? Just so it cooks evenly. Just like so. So the meat is browning and it's cooking. It's going. Do that there. Now, if we can zoom in here, the seasoning we add to carne guisada is salt. It's HB iodized salt, so it does contain iodine. HB brand, and it's pepper, black pepper. The cumin, it's in Spanish, it's called comino, and it's a cumin, and its a brand name is Fiesta. And McCormick is a powder. It's garlic powder. So these are the ingredients that we use for carne guisada, plus a little bit of tomato sauce. But like I said, I like to add fresh tomatoes. My family's not very fond of tomatoes, but I add them whole. Let me get these over here. It's these the cherry tomatoes. They're actually really good. I'll tell you, I eat them like grapes, and so they're super healthy. They say colorful food is the best food for us, and I eat them like grapes. But I'll make these, and I'll pour it in there and cut them in half. And so they're the super sweet. The brand, I guess it's a super sweet. The cherub, it's just heavenly salad tomatoes. But like I said, I use these best with my family. If they don't like it, they can easily pick them out. So I'll give this one another toss. It's looking nice and brown. Just like so. Just a little quick toss. My daughter just came into the picture. She's a nursing student, so she's pretty health active too. My family is a big family. We're a family of 5. I have my 21-year-old daughter who's in nursing school, and very proud of that. Following healthcare. I have my husband, very supportive man. He's in the other room doing his work. He is a diabetic. I'll share that. And so I try to be pretty careful of the foods that we eat. And I know flour to make this gravy and carne guisada, but we do balance out. And then I have my son George, who's 15, big growing boy, which explains kind of the portions that I make. Then of course I have Anthony, my 10-year-old, and myself. So lately, since I've been back to school, I find myself cooking a lot for my family, which I really do enjoy. So let me get back to this since I shared a little bit about who I am, Dr. Banu. And I'll tell you that as I'm browning this and we want a good heavy little gravy, I'll sprinkle a little more flour. I know our culture is big on carne guisada because it's Spanish food. Some people will make the gravy on the side in a bowl. They pour the flour and all their ingredients, and then add hot water or just like tap water, and then mix it and whisk it on the side. But my mother and my grandmother, they always made it this way. I don't really know the purpose of why they would brown it with the meat, other than it makes a good thick gravy, and it coats their meat. And so I'm not sure exactly what the logic is behind that. I've asked, and I don't really get a true answer. but it is tasty. So in a minute, I'm going to add those ingredients, those spices in here. So it's not completely cooked, but it is browned. Let me show you this. Bring up the camera. I'll show you over here. It is brown, and so you can kind of hear it a little bit. It's not completely cooked, but it is brown. You can see the areas right there. When you brown your meat, when we add the hot water, it reduces cooking time because it doesn't have to. Bless you, honey. Bless you. Here we go. When you add the hot water in here, as opposed to tap water or just, I don't think you use cold water, but if you add just tap water at room temperature, it cools down your meat, your pot, so it takes a little longer to cook. And I don't know any other theory behind it, but I always add hot water to anything I'm cooking. So now that this is nice and brown, I don't measure my water, but I do add enough to cover the meat. Can you pull it in here, Anthony, just to see it as much as you can? Like lift it up high. No, the camera. The camera. Like so. Yeah. So when I pour this in, I just pour enough water. Maybe it's about 2 cups, I guess, maybe 2.5 cups. But I pour enough to cover the meat, like so. And so now it's browning. It's cooking, I'm sorry. So here at this point, I add just dashes of garlic powder. And I just kind of go around the pan like 2 times. I do the same thing with the HEB pepper. Let me open this up. Just give me a second to open this up. So, and again, it's just kind of to taste, but I just go around the pot, pour that in. So I would say that was about maybe a tablespoon. And then we have cumin powder. And again, I'm not sure why I do this, but maybe it's just out of culture and tradition with our Hispanic food. My mother would put it on her fingertips, the 4 fingertips, and she'd kind of make a little scoop like so, just with the fingertips, not the palm of my hand, but just the fingertips. And so that's why it's important to make sure you wash your hands. And so she'd pour so much like this. She'd pour it out with her thumb. And this was her measurement. I hope you can see that right there. It's just the fingertips. So I would say maybe about a tablespoon. And so once you have this and a pinch of this and a pinch of that, then you just kind of sprinkle it in. And as you're doing this, you can kind of smell it. It smells really good. So just kind of shake your hands in there. I have my dish towel. So once you have this, you want to give it another stir. Just like so. You can start to smell the cumin is the most powerful smell that you have here. So you don't want to put too much or it'll overpower. But as you're doing this, it starts to cook into a thick gravy. And so as I'm looking at this, of course I'm going to cover it in a second. And if the consistency is too thin and your family likes it a little bit thicker, then you add a little bit more flour. The last thing you want to add is salt. I almost forgot the salt. You want to add salt. This is HEB iodized salt. So again, no certain measurements. We just kind of sprinkle it in. Again, just around the pan is how my mom taught me. Like there's no certain measurements. So once you add the salt, give it another stir. So now you start. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit to 7. I don't want it to cook too fast and the water evaporate because I want that gravy. But I want the meat to be soft as well. So I'll go ahead and cover it now. I reduced the heat. And so, like I said, if my burner was working, I would have been making my rice over here. But I think I can start it just the same. That. Over. No, I'll just pause later to make sure we get it done right. Even if it takes a little bit longer, but we'll pause in between. And then I'll make the rice. So this is, oh, my tomatoes. I'm sorry, I almost forgot my tomatoes. In this carne guisada, traditionally you add tomato sauce or big chunks. Oh, I almost forgot. The big chunks of tomato and onion. Let me get my onion. And so some people like to brown their onion with their meat. It is a good idea. It is tasty. With me, I guess it just, I don't know, kind of depends. But I do make it nice and big and thick because, again, for my family members who don't care for, like, the onion itself, you just pick it up. So just cut it through to get the skin off. Just peels right off. And so I do cut it in big, nice big chunks. So if they don't like it, they can just pick it out. But at least it adds that flavor. Like that. So then just take these chunks and throw them in. And they cook with the meat. They fully cook with the meat. And of course, once you throw them in, you want to give that stir. So you get them in there. So. Clean that back up. I'll cut up my tomatoes pretty coarsely, sometimes just in half, just enough to give it some flavor. And again, nice and big, so if they don't want them, they can just pick them out or don't serve them at all. But then I tend to add more because I like them, and so there's I'm the one who picks out. There we go. And so this aside, put this over, pour them in. I'll add just these last three so they stay low to me. Some people like to put green pepper into their carne guisada. Again, it's just in preference and taste. I don't care for green peppers. I don't cook a lot with green pepper, so therefore my family doesn't eat green pepper. So, but this is how we make it, and if you want to bring it in a little bit, Anthony, so we can see it. It's cooking nice and brown, like this, and so you can smell the cumin, and so you can see the onions, the big chunks of onion, tomatoes, big chunks of tomato. Like I said, if your family likes tomatoes, then by means add more. But this is just for a little flavor, and they don't like it, they don't have to just pick it out. So I'll keep it covered and let it simmer. And by simmer, like me, turn down the heat and just give it a slow cook. So what I'll do here, because of my burner back there, I'm going to turn it up on high. I'm going to move my Dutch pan over here to this back burner and put these ingredients away because I'm finished with these. So I have a big, if you want to look up here, Anthony, my cabinet has a lot of seasonings that we use because our Hispanic culture is rich on food. But what you don't find in my cupboard is like spicy or like Cajun or I don't know, Thai or some kind of like spicy pepper. We just don't have it. But anything else, you'll find it up here. So I'll put these aside, throw out my trash. And so now that this burner is nice and hot, I don't know if you can see that back here. That burner is nice and hot now. So I'm going to move the Dutch oven over it because it's going to finish cooking the carne guisada. Because now that it's all brown, it's just a matter of the beef softening, cooking thoroughly. The gravy, nice and thick, but not, actually it's not very thick compared to how other people in our culture like it. But like I said, I don't like to put as much flour, and flour is your key to making it nice and thick. So now, with my one burner over here, what we're going to do is make it tosses out, is some rice, Mexican rice. So what I'll do here is I'll take out my other pan, which is right here. I have a small kitchen, so I use my oven as storage. That's okay. Again, culture and tradition. My mother used it as storage, so I do too. And so here, I'll add, again, I don't measure quite as much, but I'd say it's about a tablespoon. And it's barely enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to boil up some more hot water. Like I said, we cook with hot water when we pour it into something steamy, into our pans. So the pan is on the burner. The heat is setting is 7. I'm refilling my kettle with hot boiling water. And I'll get this to boil. I'll put this away because I'm finished with this. And I'll get my rice. So here, I'll pour, again, I don't have quite a measurement, but it's 1 handful of rice, which I think would add up to about a cup of rice. And so I'm going to add a little bit more because it is a weekday, and I want to take some for lunch, leftovers. So I add enough rice to cover the bottom of it's about 12-inch pan. And I'd say this is about a cup and a half. Aim it down a little bit. You don't want to forget this. And because it's on this particular burner, I want to stir it around. Just like so. Just giving my hands a little rinse. With an electric stove and condensation from the steam, you want to always wipe down that water. So here I am. I'm going to brown the rice. It's regular white enriched rice. I don't have the box to show you, but it is, again, an H-E-B brand because this one I keep it in a container when I buy it. Now, for this one, what you want to do is add, what are you doing? Oh, I'll get it. Is add your onion. Sorry. You want to add this onion while it's browning. It just gives it a different flavor. I guess heat kind of infuses your rice. And I cut it like this to preserve the onion that's left over. You don't want to take off the whole skin, especially if you're not ready to use the whole onion. So just about a slither. And this one, I cut small portions because they tend to dissolve, as my family says. They know that there's an onion in there because they'll tell you they don't like onion. So I'm browning the rice. The water is boiling. The carne guisada is cooking. Like such. Just keep it brown. I don't like my rice to brown, nice and dark on one side and then up the other. So this is trash. I'll throw this out. So I'll tell you, like, it's not quite a big secret, but a little secret my mom always told me, and I guess that got passed down by my grandma because I used to see her just to say, Anthony, leave it on the screen. Don't move it, please. Is when you have a whole onion like this, and you're gonna cut only what you use. Don't take off the skin for storage. It helps preserve your onion to stay fresh. It doesn't dry out as fast, no matter what container you put in the refrigerator. But don't take off the skin. It's skin, onion skin. So now it's nice and it's not quite browned, but it's not white like it was. Now you want to add your, I'd say it's about 1/4 cup of onion. About 1/4 cup. It's not a whole lot. Like a 1/4. And you throw it in there. I don't know if you can see that. And you brown it. You want to brown your onion in there, and it really smells good. This smells good. So while this is browning a little bit, I'm going to stir the carne guisada and then turn down the heat. Keep it steaming in there. I hope it tastes as good as it smells. So I'll turn that one down, turn it off, and I'm working on my rice. There you go. Now that's perfect. You don't want it too brown because when you add your seasoning, it gets a little red. So I turn on the exhaust fan and pour this in. Again, it's hot water. Doesn't take much for it for the temperature of the pan to cook, which this one actually cooks really fast. But again, it's because you add hot boiling water as opposed to regular tap water. I'll find my lid, then I'll cover it on the top. Wait, that's not the lid. It has to be nice and fit. I think it's down here. I have so many pots and pans. I just love pots and pans. And there you go. So while I cover it, and it's going to start to cook, I'm going to get my seasoning. For this rice, Mexican rice, you can add the salt, pepper, cumin. Anthony, be careful. Come back to this. I know. You can add the salt, pepper, cumin, tomato sauce, and all these garlic. But my family prefers this. This is it says caldo de tomate. It's a tomato bouillon, and it has chicken flavor. But you really can't see the chicken. I mean, you can't really taste chicken flavor, but it has a tomato base. It's actually a tomato-based bouillon. And it's a Mexican, I mean, they make it in the United States, but the brand name is Nor. In Spanish, the K is silent, so we call it Nor. Some people call it Conor. It's Nor. So, again, just take a little bit. I guess this one I'll measure. I would do my fingertips again, but with my rice, it just depends how much I put in there. So I kind of ballpark it, and I guess it's about a tablespoon. You don't want to put too much at first because it might be a little too strong, depending on the main dish. And our main dish is carne guisada. This already has a lot of flavor, so you don't want to add too much in your rice. But I think that was it wasn't enough because then it won't have any flavor really. So I guess it would be like 2 tablespoons. I'm sorry, 2 teaspoons. Yeah, this gave it good color. And I usually base it on color because I don't taste it as I go. I know some people do that and taste as they go. I just don't. I kind of just go on smell. So that's cooking. Your rice, once you pour in the hot water and you pour in your seasoning, cover it and just let it sit. You don't want to keep going in there and opening it and covering it. Now the water that we put in was enough cover the rice, and now it's boiling, and I'll turn it off right when you can't see the water, but you see like little bubbles in between the rice because it's steaming. I turn it off and I let it finish cooking with the heat from the stove to the heat in the pan, and then I'll just let it sit there for a little bit. So again, I'll come over here and check on my carne guisada. Looks really good. And I think we're done with that. This really does look really good. And so we're finished with that. Now, what I'm going to start in the back burner is some beans. I've already pre-cooked beans. I cook pinto beans every Sunday. And so again, I guess it's culture and tradition. So I'll start the beans in the back burner for time purposes. So I'll go ahead and pause this now until I get this going, and then I'll bring you back.